Today's episode is brought to you by White Tears. White tears have been refreshing the parched throats of protesters and progressive politicians for well over 100 years. It doesn't always satisfy, but boy, does it feel good to take a delicious gulp in front of sad and sickened 6Fs, all while wearing your best I don't give a fuck face. Just look at our happy customer right here. Yes, White Tears, available literally everywhere you look.
I know that's right. It's too many retailers of white tears these days. And we are here to be your official distributors. Welcome to Steel Sharpen Steel. I am Tom Cunningham, and right beneath me is Chuck Hobbs. To his left is Sharon Ledman Hicks. And in the upper left-hand corner is Joy Stevens, purveyor of the finest of white tears, Chateau de Laune Blanche. So today, there's just been a whole lot that has been happening. I don't know about the rest of y'all. It's just been so many different things going on in the world today that we just want to get right into it. And leading us off with some not so great news for the governor of New York is Chuck Hobbs.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for all of our viewers who are watching and prepared to participate for the next hour or so. Got breaking news this afternoon that Governor Andrew Cuomo is in more hot water, at least from an allegation standpoint. We recognize that allegations are what they are, but the latest is from a current aide who has accused Governor Cuomo of having tried to ogle her, told her she was beautiful in Italian, and called her a mingle mama. Now, we've been talking about this a lot on social media for the last couple of weeks, and I find it interesting because Governor Cuomo has a lot of defenders. There are a lot of people across the world who believe that he should stay and fight and continue to do what he is doing. Whereas there's another line of reasoning that suggests that perhaps he should resign. I know that Kristen Gillibrand last week asked for him to resign. I believe Chuck Schumer is on record for having asked for his resignation. Clearly, like we talked about last week, the governor doesn't have a whole lot of allies in the political class up there in New York. It seems as if he has a pretty caustic demeanor about himself from what I have been reading, which is different from what we saw last year. I think that most of the country, particularly progressives and even moderate Democrats, fell in love with the guy last year because he provided a stark contrast to Donald Trump during the worst early days of the coronavirus pandemic. And it seems as if in the span of the last 3 weeks, not only has he had to deal with the scandal that is whether he was undercounting the number of people who actually died from the coronavirus in his state last year, but now it seems as if more and more each week, almost each day, somebody else is coming out of the woodworks with an allegation, which leads you to ask, like, wow, are we about to deal with another Weinstein situation, Bill Cosby? I mean, we can go right down the list where it starts off with one and next thing you know, it exponentially gets greater. And so, clearly we have an issue with that. So I'll put that in play for the rest of the team. What are your thoughts? Should he resign? Should he hold fast? I see that former Representative Charlie Rangel came out in support of him earlier this week and said that we should wait for all the facts to come out. But again, it's getting kind of hectic for him. What do y'all think, gang?
Well, I saw a Quinnipiac poll that says actually there are at least 50% of all New York voters who think he should not step down, and it's about 67% of the Democratic voters. But on the negative side for him, about 63% of all New York voters say you should not seek office again. You should not try to re-up on the governor mansion. So I think what is happening is that people do appreciate there is some residual goodwill with the voting constituency. The political class is feeling that it's getting kind of hectic and it's hot. And so they're trying to align themselves on the idea of, we lambasted Trump for his escapades. We can't not ask for him to do this, especially in light of Spitzer and then old boy who replaced him, the brother,
David
Patterson.
Yeah, David Patterson.
And he had his own problems. And then Cuomo snuck in saying he was going to clean everything up and that Albany was not going to be messy. And here he is right again being messy as hell. So I think it's more than enough. I think the behavior is egregious. It's new people coming out every day.
Yeah.
And you simply just don't see this. I mean, Katie Porter is an outlier. You just don't see this in general from as many women politicians as you do from men. You can't swing a cat without some male, especially white dude, doing something scandalous. Can you just not? Can you just control yourself? Go ahead, Joy.
No, they cannot. And I think that's a big part of what we're seeing here is, you ask them, like, can you keep your hands to the self? Oh, you mean these hands? Like, they can't help it. It's ridiculous. Okay, on a serious note, it speaks to the pervasive nature of sexual assault in all of its forms against women. Everybody does it. I even hate to bring this up, but if you rolled it all the way back to Bill Cosby and his allegations, people were like, well, why should he be in trouble? Because everybody was doing it. Just because everybody was doing it doesn't mean it was right. It wasn't even against the law, technically, when he was drug women, because they didn't have such a thing as date rape drugs or consent through non-consent through incapacitation. That wasn't a thing when he was doing it. It doesn't mean it was right, but it was everywhere. A lot of the people that are getting in trouble are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg because everybody does it. Everybody been doing it. It's what you did. It was like it wasn't really in anybody's contracts, but it might as well have been in Hollywood. There's a reason they call it the casting couch, because it was so pervasive. It was so much a part of everyday life, similar to racism, that people don't even notice it. It's in the air they breathe. Take a deep breath, lick somebody's face. I mean, that's what they do, And so I appreciate the fact that people are able to say, you know what, you done messed up, go on, finish out your little term and then beat it. Cause we can't just be having you up in here doing what you do. I appreciate that. And I do understand the nuance of, taking him out right now would cause more upheaval than anything else. But I do like that nobody's trying to say, ma'am, what?
Whoa.
I see you down there.
Okay, KJ, what's going on?
I know, like send out a StreamYard code. What's really happening?
Yeah,
all my friends are sick of me.
That just means your stock is good, boo.
Thank you.
You ain't got a hater, you ain't doing something right.
That's a very good point. And that goes back to, all the politicians.
Because that's my segue to promo.
I like the way that the Democrats are trying to not be hypocritical about the way they've criticized other people, and now one of their own has allegedly done some egregious things, and they're like, bro, we can't rock with you. That's how everybody should be. When you have been proven to do something that is not befitting your office, you should leave office. So, that's just my 2 cents. Anybody else want to weigh in? Yeah.
Yes, I would like to weigh in. As the native New Yorker, all you progressives and worldly people, let me explain to you about the state of New York. You will have to have held somebody down for quite a long time to get a rise out of New Yorkers overall, and unfortunately. But most importantly, what Chuck failed to mention, or someone followed up, I think it was Tom, whoever mentioned Charlie Rangel, the Black folks overwhelmingly are standing with him. The Black folks. They done held a vaccination rally with him in Harlem. I was like, that's just some straight New York gangster stuff. They're like, no time to pray, dude. Get us our vaccine and we'll stand with you. And it's that deep. But seriously, they claim it's the older Black female of all people who are standing with them because they're not on Twitter. This is how they characterize it in Politico. And this is a case of all politics are local. New Yorkers are not uber crazy psycho progressives that don't understand wrong is wrong. Mind you, Donald Trump is a New Yorker. and they tolerated him until he wanted to be president and act like he wasn't from New York, but that he was from Dixie or Texas or something. So they were like, take your ass on and move your ass to Florida. I mean, it's not, it's not to make light of it, but I'm just keeping it real that Cuomo, as a child who grew up when his father was the governor,
right,
still living in New York, Cuomo is synonymous with Jesus in the state of Florida. I mean, state of New York, not Florida. Lord have mercy. The state of New York. And he's riding that tide. I mean, I don't think he could win if he ran for a fourth term. Who the hell knew he's been in office for that long? As somebody who's no longer a New Yorker, watching Chris every damn night and bringing on his brother during the height of it, he is such an insider, but he's more on a celebrity side. He's not on the staunch politicos, but they ran a poll in the Black community. So once again, we're allowing ourselves to be pimped, And I hope that there's a return on investment. I think he's always been really good. New York is a highly culturally diverse state, and there's insider baseball, but he has run to the Black folks and they are standing with him. So everything the national people that don't vote New York are talking about, he ain't running for president, he ain't running for Congress, he ain't running for U.S. Senate. He is running for local politics, state politics, the governorship. I won't rule out that he can get reelected, but he certainly is not going to step down. He's just not.
Yeah, I think it is apparent right now. He has given an almost tearful apology of I never intended to make anybody uncomfortable. Meanwhile, one of his aides is saying that he pressed her repeatedly. You were raped. You were assaulted. You were raped. You were assaulted. You were raped. And how does that change your feeling of intimacy in an office setting? And that's a tough thing to hear. I listened to it today as I was preparing for the show, and I was like, damn, that's not awesome. But to Sharon's point, it's not moving people. And if the people aren't going to be moved, if they aren't going to be pressed, then you're going to have to move on to the next thing. And the next thing may well be the filibuster, because we've got lots of distractions happening every single day on all different sorts of fronts, which leads us to our second headline. And this is for Sharon. We can't even get girls basketball to be treated right because we got some people who are going to pull some major stunts. You let me know when you want that clip.
This is the all-time Imus moment of a complete nobody that I hope is getting drugged properly locally. Quick shout out to Ravine. I was talking about his father, Mario. If I misspoke, I was talking about Mario Cuomo. But go ahead and play the tape because this is just...
And we will be right back here live after the national anthem, ladies and gentlemen. It's not north. It's not? They're green and white. Oh, shit. They're kneeling? Fucking... I hope Norman gets their ass, dude.
So it is very difficult to hear in that audio. The person who recorded that clip for Twitter did try to amp up the audio, but Sharon, go on ahead and explain what the audience was supposed to be hearing in that.
Well, read the tagline, Joy, for me.
So he didn't know it was a hot mic, and right after he asked, they're kneeling, he said on a hot mic, effing N-words, I hope they lose. And he went on to say a few other things.
Sure did. He hoped that the other team was going to get in their ass, is what he said.
Basically.
And immediately went into that cycle of apologies and lies. Sharon, you wanna take that?
The problem that I have with the whole thing is many layers of problems. The best solution was the outcome, but this dude on a hot mic, he's a third party. He's like the referees. It's a federation of people that do the announcing. He's busy doing this while the national anthem is being played, denigrating children, denigrating high school children who turned around and beat that ass and won the game. But more importantly, he justifies the exact reason that they kneel. This is no different than Colin Kaepernick versus the insurrection of January 6th. We have to stand our ground. We can not allow these 6F mofos, who that has now finally clicked in my vocabulary, Tom. And because I was like, why are y'all doing a color palette? But that's a whole nother story for me and Tom and our goofy side of us. He was all over stuff like that, but I didn't get it. But I get it now. And it is so annoying to believe that they have become so blatant, so transparent, and everybody wanted to pass the buck. Oh, that was outrageous, but that's a third-party vendor. I want to know that not only is that third-party vendor either cut off, but that man has been stripped of his announcer license, and then he pays some level of reparations to the young ladies who went on to win the state championship. So yes, we are filled with greatness. The scars of another Imus moment. Imus is now dead. He has now been replaced by this nobody that could take his stage, be so irresponsible to leave his mic on, and then to denigrate the very sport where Black women are the majority of the sport. That is what is so freaking offensive. And it's no more of just being outraged. We got to just, this whole need to address this head on. It's just still it's bubbling like a volcano. And I'm just sick of it, because you're talking about someplace like Oklahoma. He didn't even know what team it was. The man had to clarify which team. He was inadequate
green
for that
and white.
But you were just so disgusted by Black skin representing silent protests. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have given so much credibility to the nonviolence movement. It is playing out before our face what our ancestors went through and got much worse treatment. And we're trying to emulate it with respect. And we see the core of these ignorant bastards' heart.
And had the nerve, after all of that, to blame it on an insulin reaction.
Anybody else on here diabetic? Am I
Thank you.
diabetic on the panel? You diabetic, Tom?
I'm diabetic.
He's got liabetes.
Right.
That's what that was. Because and then he went from liabetes to I guess he was having a bad day. It was a tough time.
Yeah.
First off, the first thing he said was, though, I'm so sorry, I didn't know my mic was on. So already you're saying, I'm sorry, I got caught.
Sorry, I got caught. Yep.
Right. And then it was the sugar that made me do it. I had a sugar spike. Okay, so that's first off, that's not how all that works.
It really isn't how it works.
I have been.
And you can't say that. Wait, Joy. You can't tell Black people about sugar.
Right.
I mean, we didn't even have that moment. We didn't have that moment. You can't tell Black people about side effects of diabetes. I'm sorry, sister. I just had to get that in.
You sure can.
We be knowing.
Right. We may not know the entire medical spectrum, but we know the sugar.
Right.
We know that sugar.
You said diabetes gave him Tourette's, Tom.
Mama on program will tell you all about the sugar. We've been had it for generations. We know all the side effects. But here's the thing: as Tom and Chuck can attest to, before we started rolling, I have been out of it to a serious extent. I've been passed out drunk in my earlier youth, and I have never once said something that wasn't already a part of my everyday vocabulary. You don't get drunk or get disoriented and start using words you don't use.
Inventing things. No.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
What you know what? And in his defense, I was at a party on the yard at FAMU. I went to an Omega Sci-Fi party and drank some Omega oil, and I woke up speaking Portuguese. and as I recovered, I drifted into Sanskrit, and then I was writing in hieroglyphics, and then like this, I just snapped out of it once I got to the calf and got me some toast.
And then you cussed everybody out, right?
Right.
And then I cussed everybody out in all three of those languages, two of which are dead. So
right.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you a damn lie.
Yeah, basically.
And I mean,
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got
got to lie. How you gonna get fired on your day off?
And see, the thing that I really despise these days are the cowards among the racists. See, what happened to the old school racists that
Right.
came up
Yeah,
around? Who were like segregation today, segregation yesterday, segregation tomorrow. You know, you can despise that kind of racist, but actually tip your cap a little bit, because they were like, the hell with y'all, right?
I mean, I'm not taking my crap to the Proud Boys, though.
Yeah, they want to talk
no.
trash, but then they're scary. And once the repercussions start to come, then all of a sudden,
Abba-dabba.
Yeah, liabilities, So I can't respect guys like that.
Say it with your chest if you don't say it.
If that's how you feel, say it, bro.
Yeah, say it. Don't blame it on poor pancreatic response.
Right.
Because that's another thing that Black folks will do. You'll call us out and we'll be like, I said what I said.
Right. Exactly. Right. Or you get somebody post your stuff, Chuck Hobbs, you wrote such and such and such a, and my response is, I'm looking for the lie. Or I could have said more. I actually was holding back. I say it with your chest. And that's why I can't stand about these cowards. They don't say it with their chest, because once those pink slips start looming around the corner, then all of a sudden they want to get religion and sensitivity training and Joy. Then they want to patronize your business, Joy, and be like, hey, I can do better than what I was, So get that paper. Yeah, help reform these racists, Joy.
I'll help get you right. And I've been in that situation where I've said something, or I've said something that offended their sensibilities in the middle of a open forum, of a discussion, of a panel, whatever, and had them, confront me. Well, it sounds like you're saying this, and I say, yes, I am. I am saying that. And let's talk about why. Let's go back all the way to the inception of the idea and the concept of black and white, perpetrated by the Portuguese when they started the slave trade. And then all of a sudden they just, this is what they do. They just like.
Right.
This segment of the program brought to you by Joy Stevens Absorbent Cloths for White Tears. When you have a big pool of white tears, go visit Joy Stevens and she'll hand you one of her glorious amounts of absorbent cloths, and she'll sop those white tears right up and distill them for you for your later consumption. Absorbent white tear cloths, exclusively available from Joy Stevens.
Oh my God.
While we're on the topic of racism, it is Sharon's turn yet again, because we just can't get away from racist senators and Ron Johnson and his inability to speak coherently on anything. So
I need that CNN clip that's in there. I need that played. We need to talk about this.
Okay. Give us a minute, because we got the headline.
Okay.
So
do
go ahead.
Do the intro.
Yeah.
So Senator Ron Johnson slipped on a banana and bumped his head because somehow he thought he could get away with talking about the Insurrection Day hood rats as patriots and how much he was not afraid of them, because he knows that they came there with good intentions. But if the shoe was on the other foot and Trump would have won, and it was Black Lives Matter and Antifa that came to the house, he would have been terrified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We ready to roll?
One more second. I think it's a matter of what these people can twist themselves into knots to express as concern, when at the end of the day, what's ultimately happening is that they are doing whatever they need or want to do to get notes and hits from their constituents when they know that they dead wrong.
But these people are in halls of power. These people make decisions about our lives. These people they are one vote away from being able to put Jim Crow back in place, Jim Crow laws back in place. I mean, and they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on their anti-Blackness positions. This is what I have no understanding of whatsoever.
Oh,
Hi. I'm not sure what just happened there. I was intently listening. So
Yeah, she was breaking
I think
it down.
Sharon bounced out just for a second. We're almost ready to roll that clip. It is processing in the queue, and as soon as it hits, I will hit. But here it is. Here we go. This is the segment about Johnson and his foolishness.
So, as rioters stormed the Capitol on January 6th, looking for lawmakers and shouting, "Hang Mike Pence," elected officials were literally running for their lives, sheltering from harm. But one senator says he was never worried because, in his view, they were law-abiding Trump supporters. In a new radio interview, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin claims he might have been concerned if the protesters looked different. Here are his own words.
I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law. And so I wasn't concerned. Now, had the tables been turned, and Joe, this got me in trouble. Had the tables been turned and President Trump won the election, and those were tens of thousands of Black Lives Matter and Antifa protesters, I might have been a little concerned.
Hey, but Sharon, at least he was real with it, though. He didn't.
Fuck that.
Yeah,
I don't need
I
you to be real. I need you to get back in your lane.
What I'm saying, though, is he didn't try to hide and pull back and talk about no diabetes like we were just talking about.
Well,
he's showing he's a cracker, and I appreciate him for being the cracker that he is. That's what
I don't, because you know what? Them same crackers hosed us down in the street and got away with it.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, I want him out, but I'm saying I appreciate knowing who he is as opposed to the ones who try to smile as if they're not who they are, like Ron DeSantis,
that means that
governor.
If he can say that, just like Imus, if he can say that and don't have any consequences, that's a problem.
No, he should have.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we saying the same thing. All I'm saying is I prefer them to be out front with theirs as opposed to the "I like you black people" types like DeSantis, who parades black people that we know personally on stage, knowing good and damn well DeSantis feels the same way that Ron Johnson does, but he says it in a way that obfuscates his racism. I prefer out front racists so we can smash those roaches with our hands as opposed to trying to figure it out. That's all I'm saying, sis. We're on the same page.
I feel you. And what I'm really trying to convey, however, is how do we shut these mofos down? I mean, their level of emboldenedness, fine. All of you, I know who you are. Y'all got a little too much power for me to think that just because you can say it and mean it, that we can actually shut you down. They are so terrified, Joy, because of your state. They really, they need to get us back in line.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me be very clear. They're trying to shut Houston down because they're afraid Texas is going to do what Georgia has done.
My other city.
Okay, let me be clear. That's why these voting laws are being changed. But they got a real problem with Georgia. You Negroes have just gotten a little too emboldened.
Uppity, all in here.
These 6F mofos, y'all about to have me cussing up in here. I'm sitting there like, I'm trying to catch myself. Because I am apoplectic.
Yeah.
Ooh.
On how emboldened these 6Fers have become. He still ain't walked it back. He still has shown no contrition for his words. And now I'm not necessarily agreeing with Trump being off Twitter, because that means he in the strategy room and we can't see what the hell is going on. See, his Twitter, he can't control himself. So he always told us exactly. We all knew about January 6th. That thing, they just didn't want to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
They were very clear: date, time, venue, expectation, execution. They were very clear.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing.
Now, go ahead, Joy.
If you listen to what he said, he is sitting here or standing wherever he was after they've already attacked the Capitol, after they have killed police officers, after they have desecrated the Capitol. I mean, who leaves feces in places? That is what rabid animals do. And
where's the police union?
After this happened, he said, I know they're all law-abiding citizens. I know they would never break a law. They broke several laws. They broke hundreds of laws collectively.
But they respect police
Murder is
because
a
they murdered
law.
one.
How are you going to say they respect police when they beat a policeman with an American flag? That is not patriotism.
Poked another policeman's eye out.
Hey, for him to ignore all of that and then come back with this, I know they're good people, means you don't know what good people is. You know what white is, and you associate white with good people. I know they're white. You can't know they're good people because they broke the law before you opened your mouth and said they'll never break the law. Are you forgetting that they just did, and half of them are going to go on trial for that? So all of this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, because I talk about cognitive dissonance all the time. This is beyond to full-on alternative reality denial. I think this way. If they had been black and Trump had won, I'd have been scared. But these are the ones that tried to hang your vice president. Literally tried to hang him. And you're like, oh, well, they didn't mean
back on the gravy train?
Who they say about school shooters? It's the same thing they say about mass murderers. It's the same thing they say anytime. It's so many white men that lose their shit and go out and murder other people and then get forgiven for it because, well, that's not all of us. But it's enough of them to create a statistical pattern that says these men, this demographic, should not be allowed to roam freely because they are a danger to not just the American way of life, but American lives. And yet and still, they still feel like they are the best possible choice to run the world. They're the best possible choice to ruin it because they're collectively, statistically speaking, murderers and rapists and crazy. And they started all the wars, by the way. Okay, I'm done.
And y'all, and in light of Joy's last point about starting the wars and Sharon, this is where it all boils back down to. We've talked about it before, but I'm going to say it again. The Civil War. These people these are the descendants. The Ron Johnsons of the world are the descendants of the people that started a whole other country that led to almost 1 million deaths over 4 years. And while we all know those statistics about what happened during the Civil War, the part that continues to bother me, which is what bothers me with what happened on January 6th, is those people didn't even get hanged by the neck for treason after the Civil War. They went back to being their countrymen. And so Ron Johnson is saying that he's afraid of an Antifa or a Black Lives Matter. Antifa and Black Lives Matter and us on this panel, we are not his countrymen. He's talking about the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, because as wrong as they were, and he knows, he has to know that they are wrong, but at the end of the day, those are his people. And so they are redeemable. And that's why I'm always talking and posting about after the Civil War, 50, 60, 70 years later, the Confederates and the Union soldiers, what were they doing? They were having reunions, like the Kappa Conclave or the Delta, what y'all call y'all's, the Nationals or whatever. They're kicking it, drinking, talking about, yeah, I remember that time we shot up your Legion and yeah, your regiment. Yeah, y'all got us that day. They were boys, okay? As opposed to those people should have been hanged by the neck right off rip for fomenting treason. So this is in their DNA to be like this. And so, Sharon, the only thing that I'm saying in regards to I like for it to be open is you're right. It gives not us. We're always going to raise our voices, we as Black people, against outward racism. We always have. The issue, though, is the more a Ron Johnson is in public saying the best that he said this past week, the more it is for our other white allies to remember, I can't go back to this. Yeah, I may have been raised a Republican. Yeah, I may have been a George Bush Republican and a Reagan Republican, but I don't have a place over here as a white man or a white woman with these crazies who are really trying to kill Black people and brown people and Asian people.
I'm just going to hop in quickly on this, on the issue of white privilege. We talked about white tears before. Let's talk about white privilege for a second. Do you know how much privilege it takes to be discussing thousands of protesters in the midst and in the aftermath of committing documented crimes on video and refer to Antifa and BLM protests, which were not there, as though they were the legitimate threat? Think about what it takes, the dysfunction it takes in your brain to put those thoughts together. I am watching people violently break into the Capitol, where I, as a senator, am sitting contemplating certification of a legally and properly run federal election, where the votes have already been confirmed, the Electoral College has already been confirmed, and we are just here for a ceremonial counting and recitation of those votes. And yet, in the midst of that, with violence, with weapons, with people killed, you say that you felt comfortable and safe, even though the vast majority of members of the House and the Senate are white people.
Mm-hmm.
And the most egregious things that happened to the offices of white people.
True.
Pelosi's office,
Mm-hmm.
Schumer, all of these people, white people did this. 6 MFers. That's what I'm gonna call them now. 6 MFers. and they did that, and you were still on another 6 MFers radio program talking about how comfortable you felt while thousands of crimes were being committed by the same group of people you're calling patriots.
Let's also remember, though, if you think about the protests and the revolutions of the 60s, when white people would join in on those protests, they were called N-word lovers, and race traitors, and a disgrace to their blood, etc. So he doesn't see Pelosi and Schumer as white people. He sees them as race traitors, and therefore not afforded or due the same protection as him, or given the same privilege of not getting shot as him. So when they came for her in her office, well, she deserved it for being basically an N lover. They might as well bring that term back, because that's exactly what they mean. When they say progressive, social justice warrior, snowflake, it's just another way of saying N lover. It's the exact same thing. And they label what they abhor, so they have a target for all of their violence. Once they give you a label, they can say, let's go get those N lovers. Let's go get those whatever. And that's exactly what happened on January 6th.
Joy, Tom, let me ask y'all this real quick. Just obviously it's a hypothetical. Most of those people, had they actually been able to break through those doors and, let's say, overpower the 9 or 10 officers that were in the Senate chambers, in the House chambers, trying to do all they could do, weapons drawn, do you think that most of those people that were a part of the crowd on January 6th actually would have been able to tell the difference in terms of who a Ron Johnson actually was? I actually get the weird feeling that had they broken through, they would have beat him too. And at the end of the day, for all of the crap that he was talking on Joe Pag's show, at the end of the day, you didn't see him go and try to talk to the crowd, since these are your people that you're not afraid.
Sure didn't.
You didn't see him say, hey, I don't need a security detail. These are my peeps. Let me go talk to them. No, that you didn't do that because you were scared as to what was going on. And now you're on a radio show trying to fake as if you weren't, because you're trying to keep all of these people into the loop. Here's Sharon again. Okay. And what have you? Go ahead, Sharon. You were killing it earlier.
I haven't missed a word y'all have said.
Okay.
Look, what's interesting, and you triggered me just now with this, Chuck. Where's Holly? He's been awfully quiet. Where's Ted Cruz? What you doing? So is this the second string that's been sent in? The team that we ain't gonna let this go, people. We're not gonna let this go. They done set the second string in, the retiring string. They done, because Hawley got all that yak. He got all that yak coming out of his mouth.
All that.
So quiet for weeks. For weeks. I don't know what the step and fetch is that he's doing. I don't know what, maybe he has to do that, Chuck, because he fears his life and he needs to be seen as one of the people. They cannot not be scared of some of these people.
Right.
They have to be.
They cannot not be scared. Okay.
Right.
And on top of that, there are law enforcement people who are kicking law enforcement people's ass. Where is the police union? How are you allowing your officers to get their ass beat? The infiltration of the FBI, police forces, sheriff's offices is clear.
Mm-hmm.
We seeing it play out in Georgia with the mass shootings that just happened. I mean, this country is out of control. The people in major decision-making positions are part of it.
As always.
And even though we're a more civilized society, I don't feel safe. I need to see some backlash. I need to see law enforcement. I need to see the criminal justice system perform. And I do believe that there are other people that are in power. And maybe some of these people are quiet because their videos and their text messages have shown up. Let's see. Because I expect some members of Congress, including the U.S. Senate, some of them to be arrested. I expect it. I really cannot accept anything less than that. Because it was inside fingerprints all over January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
All over. So clear. Well, that does lead us into our next bit, which is, Sharon dovetailed right onto it, the Atlanta shootings in the massage parlors. This is kind of a tip-off on white privilege as well, because and infiltration of the police force, because unfortunately, you can't have a discussion that involves race in this country that does not involve a 6MFer saying something in a police uniform that confirms the bias that exists within that set of institutions. So if you are not aware, there was a there is a male person who went to several massage parlors in the Atlanta area, all of which were staffed by Asian persons. All of the victims were not Asian, but the vast majority of the victims were, and all of the massage parlors were staffed by Asian persons. And he went in and shot 9 people, 8 of whom have died. And he claims it was to abate a sex addiction that he has, and it was not a hate crime. And one of the initial officers who was giving a press conference about the situation described it as a guy who was, thank you, Jason Hayes, he had a bad day. Now, that officer has been removed from the case, probably because when they went looking in his search history in his social media posts, they found that he was hawking some COVID-19 t-shirts that were styled after the Corona beer. So see how clever they are? So it was a COVID beer bottle that said was imported from China. And he said, they're going to sell out fast, so make sure you get one as quickly as you can. So he has been taken off. This is the sort of insidiousness of racism and anti-Asian hate that has become manifest in the era of COVID. Obviously, this country has no short history of discrimination against Asian people. You look at World War II, the Chinese Exclusion Acts, the internment camps for Japanese people. And of course, because the 6MF population is exceedingly culturally blind, anybody who appeared to be from the Asian continent was automatically Chinese if it was bad for Chinese, or they were Japanese if it was bad for Japanese. The Asians who, consider themselves rightly to be entirely different cultures. Koreans do not equal Chinese, do not equal Japanese, do not equal Vietnamese. But as far as the folks in the 40s and 50s were concerned, just anybody whose skin wasn't exactly this color and may have had a heavy epicanthic fold over their eye, they were automatically the enemy. And so we just got to get rid of them. And this is the fallout that these people are facing now. And the thing that is so upsetting to me about this particular thing, it's kind of like Dylan Roof and getting taken to McDonald's. This officer, before anything was really known, before he could affirmatively say really anything, he said we know it's a sex addiction. You don't know jack. It hadn't even been 24 hours, dude. You don't know. You know what he has said. But if other people have said, who's going to say, well, yeah, I was targeting Asian people. Please give me 10 times the sentence. Even a person who was mentally unhinged enough to go on a killing spree is not going to throw that log onto the fire. So of course he said it's just a sex addiction. A sex addiction that caused 8 people's deaths?
Here's the thing. You can say it's a sex addiction, and you can say it's based on his what's what I'm looking for? Obsession with Asian females, but the fetishization of those Asian females is in itself racist.
Amen.
And so you're still coming back to the fact that you killed these women for what they look like, because in your mind, their skin color was a problem for you.
Right.
That is the definition of a hate crime.
Right.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's jumped out at me, everything that you said, Tom, everything that you said, Joy, spot on. One of the things that hit me, and I don't know for sure whether he has counsel yet, but I'm assuming that he did because of the fact of the number of murders. I'm quite sure they had somebody from the public defender's office there with him right off rip, which is interesting because this is the anniversary week of the Gideon versus Wainwright case, but that's another topic for another time, but which allowed for people who are charged with felonies to definitely be able to seek the services of the public defender back in 1961. But the issue here is they were setting up right off rip. And that's why I was upset with Captain Jay Barker, who's been relieved as the spokesperson now, because it's weird to hear law enforcement basically purveying a defense lawyer's line, right? Like usually, in my experience, the officers are trying to create he's going to be facing death row because of
they're trying to get him off in advance.
Yeah, we've seen this, that, and the third, but he was talking like a defense lawyer, talking about he being Captain Barker. Like, this and that. They're setting up the mental health mitigator. Again, it won't be a defense to the charge in and of itself, but if this goes to become a death penalty case, and I'm 99.9% certain they will seek death because of the sheer numbers, they're going to seek the death penalty. They're already trying to set up the mitigator, which is, well, he had mental health issues stemming from his Baptist church upbringing, and he felt that this was a sin, and so therefore he was going to remove the sin, like Paul admonished in the New Testament by killing 8 people, which is totally absurd and crazy. But I peep the game, I see what's happening, and we'll have to sit tight and wait and see what the end's going to be.
Look here, bro. So I grew up Baptist. Mm-hmm. I went to a Baptist church in Houston. I went to several Baptist churches in Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia, all through the Bible Belt in the South. I've even been embarrassed on a dance floor by a dude who didn't like me. I ain't never killed nobody.
Thank you.
Behind that.
Thank you.
I've had bad days. I've had days where I have screamed and cried and cursed to the heavens, and then laid on my couch, had some ice cream and some chocolate or something else and some liquor, and stayed in my house, and I didn't kill anybody. I have wanted to kill people that I worked with sometimes, that I knew, an ex-boyfriend might could have got run over, but I never did those things because I'm a civilized human being.
Thank you.
And so miss me with all of this nonsense.
I think this young man.
Wait,
go ahead. Go ahead, Joy. I mean, Sharon.
I want to reframe this because I've heard everything y'all have said. And let's take it back to the day of the murder. Okay? 8 people have been murdered. 6 of them are Asian. A 21-year-old white male has been apprehended. Mm-hmm. Now, a sheriff comes out and decides to talk about the person who has been apprehended. Stop. I don't give a fuck what that sheriff got to say. Let's look at the facts. Okay. Why are we even giving any credibility to what someone who murdered 8 people said?
Thank you.
Was his lawyers present? I'm sure he said he wanted to go to Burger King. We don't know. They may have took him there too.
Probably.
The bottom line is the preponderance of evidence is that you murdered 8 people in cold blood. 6 were Asian. All 3 establishments were owned by Asians. Mm-hmm. This is under investigation for a potential hate crime. Period. Full motherfucking stop.
Thank you.
I don't give a shit about what he's in there crying. We are playing into the old adage of They are controlling the narrative. A murderer is controlling the narrative. A murderer is leading us into our own weakness and bias of fetishes and tropes. And he is the murderer. What were you doing?
Admitted murderer.
Admitted murderer.
Not even under investigation. He turned his own self in.
And was about to
So
murder
you
some
want to
more.
make it a sex fetish, but you killed a 74-year-old woman.
Right.
Yeah.
See, no one is talking about rational shit.
Yeah.
The majority of people that were murdered were over 50.
Right.
Why are we talking about sex workers?
Right.
And this is a 21-year-old boy. See, this is the shit all week. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see why people go crazy. But Judas and the Messiah has messed me up because I see Judas everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
I see Judas everywhere. Because when the first press conference, that's what's wrong with working from home and having time to look up at every breaking news. Keisha Lance Bottom opened and said, we are not going to make any assumptions.
Right.
We do not know. It's too early to say.
Mm-hmm.
The black man, chief of police of Atlanta, got on and said, we are not going to make any assumptions. We have a person of interest in custody. We know you all want to talk about whether or not it's a hate crime. We are not prepared to have that conversation.
That's right.
After the lineup, white man comes on, sheriff.
Right.
Well, we just sitting back chewing the fat. And, this brother, he got like a little sex addiction or something.
Yeah.
And, and all we've been talking about since, everybody, every narrator, every commentator is about a sex addiction of a 21-year-old. No one's talked about what those persons do for a living. A 74-year-old Asian woman was murdered. And we are talking about he has a sex addiction. A 63-year-old Asian woman was murdered.
Yeah.
And we have allowed the murderer to shape the conversation.
We
Across
allowed
every
white
network.
supremacy to shape the conversation.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to do my best to recognize those persons so that their names are centered in this conversation.
Okay.
Soon Chung Park was the 74-year-old woman. Hyun Jung Grant was 51 years old. Soon Cha Kim was 69 years old. And Yang Ai was 63 years old. And also Zhao Jie Tan was the owner of Young's Asian Massage. Those were the women that were murdered. Delana Yaun was another mother. She had an 8-month-old daughter. Wow. This is what we should be talking about. This is who we should be talking about. And I haven't mentioned that thing's name because there's no need to mention it. Right. There's not going to be anything for him to be concerned about. You got 8 counts of capital murder, whether or not there is a hate crime multiplier on it. You ain't never seeing the outside of a jail no more. Not with 8.
And might
not
be
in Georgia.
And might be on the road, Tom.
Yeah, clearly. Very, very clearly could be. But he has done what he intended to do. And I don't want to forget LCS Hernandez Ortiz, who was one of the male patrons who was shot. This is where we are in this country, where centering of 6MFer angst, anger, dissatisfaction, sexual frustration, rage, that is the conversation. I have a video that we put in our chat before, and I think it's particularly apropos at this moment. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to ask everybody on the panel to stop cam so that we have a full screen on it.
Okay.
Dear American white boys and men, what more do you want? You have more privilege, more power than any other gender or race. You are still overwhelmingly the face of power and prosperity in this country. And yet somehow you're still mad because of the imagined threat to your total dominance. Every single time one of you goes on a shooting spree of people who are minorities or, children, because it's always someone more vulnerable than you, that one question resonates in my brain. Why isn't all the power and privilege enough for you? Why do you also feel entitled to people's fucking lives?
And that's the point to me. This is her name, by the way, if you didn't catch that, her Instagram name was A Girl Has No President. That's a Game of Thrones sub-reference. But she is literally laying it out. What more do you want? You've gone from frustration and dissatisfaction to literally robbing people of their lives, making them incapable of being living human beings. And yet you still are not satisfied.
But Tom, that's what they really meant when they said they wanted to make America great again.
Yes.
If you think about the way this country used to be, you could have a bad day and go out and hang somebody, bring your children, fry some chicken, and make a party out of it.
And take pictures.
And take pictures, smiling like you had caught a
with
prize
reporters
or a shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was just another thing that happened on Friday night, Friday afternoon. Let's bring the kids for some good, wholesome fun. That ability to take someone's life that, when they do those FBI like profiles of serial killers, they talk about the rush. Sometimes it's sexual, sometimes it's adrenaline, but the rush of killing someone is the ultimate high. That's what they want, is the ability to, if not absolutely murder someone, to control their lives in every aspect. Ultimately, the ability to give or take their life away. That is what they want. And I'm not saying that they're all, because we talked about allies a moment ago. Shout out to Joe, because I know my boy Joe is in the audience. He fights this fight every day with me on my Facebook page. But overwhelmingly, there's a large enough, what do we call it, critical mass, especially because they never really squashed this after the Civil War. That critical mass was allowed to fester, metastasize, spread that cancer of desire to control and kill other people. And it manifests to this day. They get off on it. And again, I'm not saying that all white people get off on it, but enough of them do that they voted in Trump in 2016 and they almost voted him in again. All of this goes back to, I want my freedom of speech. My Second Amendment says I have the right to not like you, call you names, and kill you dead in the street so I can have a better day. That's what they want when they say make America great again. And it's a danger to everyone alive in this country right now, including them. Because let's face it, they can't get along without us. I'm just saying.
I mean,
who's gonna season the chicken?
And what's crazy about it is a couple things. I see where my cousin Amy weighed in with a comment about him getting down to Crisp County. And Sharon and I know very well, Tom probably remembers too, from his time at FAMU. That's not far from the Florida border. And it almost makes you wonder, where was he heading? Was he coming to Tallahassee? Was he headed to Madison, Lake City? The killing spree was not about to stop. And you just have to ask yourself, what on earth what's happening in these homes? And they talk so much. When I'm talking about I'm talking about racist whites. They talk so much about absentee black fathers and the deplorability of the black home. What's going on in y'all's homes? Like, what are y'all talking about? How does this continue to be a problem with young white males historically here in this country? Whether it was the two guys that shot up Columbine 20-something years ago on through to the guy who killed 9 people up at Emmanuel AME in Columbia. What are y'all raising? What kind of monsters are you all raising? What do you talk about? What's going on in these churches? I read that this killer was supposed to be a Baptist choir boy type of kid. Dad, from what I read somewhere, was a youth pastor or something. What are y'all talking about in that church that can get a 21-year-old that upset, that radicalized to go and take 8 lives? I cannot figure that out. And it's not up for me to figure it out. It's up for the 6 Fs, or as Tom keeps saying, the 6 MFs, to figure it out, to raise their kids better. Because again, that's the problem. It's not us, it's them.
Well, and his church has disavowed his membership. saying that he has violated their principles.
You think?
Which I guess is something. But I showed Chuck something earlier that I think might be an indication of where he might have learned his murderous impulses. This person said, "Why my mom looked like she on her way to Mortal Kombat Missionary Baptist Church."
Get over here.
It's one of those situations. It's like, won't you come over here to receive your blessing and your testimony? This person is deranged. He's got multiple personality disorders. I'm not going to put it on anything other than the confusion that he has been fed his entire life that put him in the position where he felt this was a justified way of acting.
No, I'm not going to let him get away with that, because my father was extremely homophobic.
Okay.
And I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant today. I'm an ally to the LGBTQ community. I do my best to make sure that I don't diminish or disenfranchise or invalidate anybody's lived experience. But I grew up with a guy who used horrible language to describe gay men, gay women, etc. And you can get past how you were raised. You can get past what you heard every day. I do not accept that. Not even a little bit. And I do not accept that he is deranged, that he has multiple personalities, because that's just setting up a defense of incapacitation. You knew what the F you was doing.
Oh, absolutely.
You're a murderer, and you deserve the highest level of punishment available.
Yeah, don't none of us disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I left anybody with the impression that what I was saying is that he was incapable of modifying his behavior. I certainly was not saying that. He's trash. Yeah. But I just think that he has, especially in the era of Trump, any ill thought that a young 6MFer might have in their head has been amplified and exploded by the burning trash heap of Hannity, Tucker Carlson, any number of right-wing ideologues who basically are telling you, you're right to feel this way. Everything that you're feeling is accurate because something's being taken from you. By all means, you should express your anger. We're telling you to go storm the Capitol. You should do that. That's a good thing to do. So I'm not saying it's not possible for someone to grow up as elegantly and excellently as you have, Joy. I'm just saying it is easy for weak 6MFers to feel that their most base impulses are acceptable, actionable, and correct. And when you are in an environment where you feel like that echo chamber is exalting you and exhorting you to give into those base impulses, it takes an extraordinarily strong will to push back against that and say, you know what, I'm tripping.
And that goes back to my point. If you're that weak-minded, what makes you think you're superior to anybody?
Well, I mean, what makes you think you deserve to carry a firearm? But
that part, right.
We can't get background checks or anything, apparently. Moving on to another 6MFer and the trouble he is having with, I mean, this is the week. This is the week we are having.
Some in the water.
But as bad as the week is for us, Derek Chauvin is having an even worse week. And hooray! Because the judge in Derek's trial has not pushed back the date of the trial. He has eliminated some of the evidence that the defense was interested in calling in, specifically as it pertains to a 2019 arrest of George Floyd and his purported ingestion of drugs during that apprehension. The entire jury has been impaneled. They have 2 alternates yet to seat. There were 6 white jurors, there were 4 black jurors, 2 mixed race jurors. The situation is such that the last woman who was seated as a part of the official jury, the actionable jury, is a white woman who said that she did have experience with people who had alcohol abuse and said that they could be violent. However, She also said that she does not feel that a drunk or even violent person should be mistreated by the police. So that's a 50-50 on voir dire as far as I'm concerned. I think they were probably out of peremptory challenges at that point if she slipped onto it, because that's not exactly boding too well for him. But the bigger story is that in the midst of impaneling the jury, the city came out with a $27 million civil judgment for the Floyd family. And Chauvin's lawyers were trying to say, oh, that's prejudicial. I mean, it's just facts, son. I mean, you killed the man. We watched 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You brutally
traumatized the whole country, son.
You set up the scenario that led to Trump lying,
you got
and
that wrong?
amplifying racist messages. That's a little piece of peanut that got caught in my trachea. It's Trump's lies that are caught in my gullet. It's forcing me to breathe funny. But that was part and parcel. That is what set the entire world against your racist foolishness. Derek Chauvin. And they're trying to treat you like a martyr. You lit the match, poured gasoline on it, and then flew a gasoline trail around the entire planet, enraging the entire planet to the injustice and inherent racism of our systematic oppression in this country. That's what you did. Thank you very much. That's what you did.
Can I admit something, though, Tom? Sharon,
absolutely.
Joy? You know what really scares the crap out of me, though, is for all of us who saw that video, who saw those 8 minutes, we listened to George Floyd call out his deceased mother's name and beg because he couldn't breathe. And there is still a part of me that is extremely nervous that Derek Chauvin might get acquitted. That's the damn shame of the reality of being Black in America, that you can have a slam dunk video. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take Clarence Darrow or Johnny Cochran or F. Lee Bailey or any great trial litigator to be able to show what we saw on that tape. And yet I'm still nervous that the jury might come back not guilty, because we have seen this happen over and over and over again. And I'm nervous.
They nervous too if that happened.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all
done set the precedence. J6 mofos. J6.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly why I am not scared, Chuck, because those people on that panel, those 12 people, they ain't trying to have their own house burnt down. Don't nobody care if Derek Chauvin goes to jail. Literally no one. Ain't nobody coming up to Minneapolis to march in the streets to talk about free Derek. That ain't happening. So
man.
We like to one up you.
So
here's the thing: there's too many. Even some evangelical white people, whatever. There are some hardcore, super conservative Republicans that look at that video and like, damn, like you can't get away from what the world saw. You let him off. You acquit him, even if it's on a technicality, and it won't be just the United States. We lose so much political equity and clout across the world because it gives truth to what Black people have been saying this whole time.
Forever.
They send him up the river, they send him to jail, and they can say, look, see, we're equal. Look, we did the right thing. Now shut up and get back to work. But if they don't,
this entire planet will shake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ape shit.
Won't be sick.
I ain't scared of that.
Will shake. Hey, Trump has been president. I'm scared of any goddamn thing. Okay. I saw a bunch of white men storm the Capitol and get inside. We don't know the times we're living in. We are not our ancestors' children. People used to try to play on our ancestors. They understood struggle. They understood pain. They understood setbacks. We some Rudy Poot Negroes, and we ain't seen the planet shake. Okay, the planet will shake, and we might be out there on the line. But honey,
I am already shookeneth if that's coming. And I just want to say on for the record, y'all people be disparaging what I'm doing, acting like I'm on here doing something I shouldn't be doing. It really is peanuts, y'all. You've seen me throwing. Look at you, Jason Hayes, with your self.
But he actually showed us the inside of the can, y'all. Could you upgrade? Could you get some cashews?
Actually, blam! I got cashews too. I'm trying to keep my liabilities on track.
Right.
Liabilities.
All I'm saying in reference to, the impending marches and whatnot is I bought all my ammunition in 2016.
Bloop.
Come over here if you want to. What did Eddie Murphy say in the Nutty Professor? Come on, Cletus.
Yeah, come on, Cletus.
But you live back. That's what I'm talking about. Don't start none, won't be none.
So
there will be some. I'm just gonna tell you.
We're gonna end headlines on a slightly more positive note from Sharon. We have Stacey Abrams and what she is doing in the state of Georgia.
See, this is called staying the course. Okay, this is what they are concerned about. This is called staying the course. Home Slice, she ain't here for no temporary actions.
She is
okay? Not. She's not here. She is leading the fight on the front line with some amazing sisters and brothers.
That's right.
That is calling everyone into question. This is where that education comes in, where we are really clear, and that these 1956 effers are really confused. Confused. And that's partly why I'm terrified, because there's only one way to deal with us at this point.
Right.
Okay. But she has called corporate America into question. She has literally
Coca-Cola. What you gonna do?
Honey, Coca-Cola, Home Depot, Delta Airlines, Aflac. She put Aflac out there. Like all y'all had all these responsible statements and UPS. Okay. And then she went after the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce to say, and the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia Greater Black Chamber of Commerce. Where y'all voices at? Where's y'all dollars at? Where's y'all power at? We don't want to hear nothing about diversity and inclusion. We don't want to hear anything about your responsible statement about voting rights. What y'all doing right now? What y'all doing right now? Because they are literally trying to legislate Jim Crow laws. Literally. When you have to tell someone that you're not allowed to pass out water to people standing in line for hours. You actually think it's appropriate to decide that that somebody's diabetes doesn't require some attention, and that you can't run them, a cup of orange juice and a peanut butter cracker? We got some bigger issues. Because you don't give somebody Tom thirsting of diabetes some peanuts. Okay, they need something a little different. So I can't even understand how it has gotten so. They have dissected souls to the polls and all.
So to continue that, they have broken down everything that Stacey Abrams has done over the last 20 years. And let's understand that it's been 20 years in the making. She didn't just decide to start this after she lost the gubernatorial race. She started another thing.
Sure did.
After the gubernatorial, she already had multiple registration and voter justice programs, enacting laws, etc., on the books before that. And so I've had my friends in Texas and my friends in Florida like, we need a Stacey Abrams. Yes, the F you do. But y'all should have been on this 20 years ago. I'm going to call out my girl, Takasha. I ain't going to give your last name because that's enough with the first name. Takasha, I told you need to get together and be the Stacey Abrams for Houston, Texas, and go on and get it going over there, because we need this sort of concerted effort everywhere. You know, what do they say? You know, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Everywhere.
And so that's what Stacey has been about. You talk about a long game. This chick, she ain't stopping, because stop for what? Slow down. Why? Things are only going to get worse as she continues to be victorious. They're going to continue to try and take her down and take down all the programs that she has built by enacting these ridiculous laws. You try to get a bus full of old Black people from the nursing home to go vote and then say they can't have no water in line. That's torture. You know,
Yeah.
And so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to kill us or convince us that we don't need to go vote for our very lives and our very safety. And we ain't having it. She ain't having it. I ain't having it. Texas, Houston ain't having it. Austin ain't having it. Orlando ain't having it. Val Demons down there in Orlando doing big things. It's slowly simmering and growing. But if it takes all of us to support these great women, great Black women in every place, to do this, because they can't do it alone. We can't put all this on their shoulders and be like, save us. That's just what white folks been doing. We have to all be involved and stay involved. You cannot get tired. You cannot slow down, because the other side never puts it down. Never.
Ever.
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 Puffy told y'all to vote or die. He dead serious. He didn't know he was dead serious when he said it. But that is absolutely where we are.
Amen.
He did not. That brings us to the end of headlines. We are ready to move on to a very brief pop cultural segment, which, of course, because being the week that it is, also includes some of this 6M effery. But if you all have not gotten your Disney Plus password from your baby cousin, go on ahead and get it together. You might want to binge WandaVision, which was an excellent show. But the show that everybody is talking about right now is the show that just debuted, actually, at 12 midnight today, this morning. And that is Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Look at my baby.
That's... Anthony Mackie playing the Falcon, Sebastian Stan, or as my lovely sibling Tony Cunningham says, Sebs, as the Winter Soldier. And this picks up several months after the return of all of the people at the end of, or in the middle of Endgame, where after Thanos had snapped away half of the inhabitants of the entire universe, and they were brought back 5 years later. This is dealing with the aftermath of that. And so there are, as you can well imagine, a lot of things that happen over the course of 5 years. When half of the people leave, you know, that means half the homes are unoccupied. So that means maybe somebody has taken up residence in your house. Or if your spouse disappeared, you've probably gotten married again. Maybe you've had kids. Years. Now that spouse is back. Well, 5. That would be a lot in 5 years. You wouldn't put in wake if you got 5 kids in 5 years. But okay, it's possible. And so there are consequences. They hadn't had a chance to deal with the consequences in the cinematic universe quite yet. There was only one film, which was Spider-Man Far From Home, and that takes place some distance after. But in the immediate aftermath of the world being shookeneth again by Stacey. So that's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier picks up at. It takes place after the consequences, apparently, of WandaVision. It deals with a different part of the country. And one of the themes that is very evident in the very first episode is that Anthony Mackie, a hero who helped save literally half of the universe, not only half of Earth, half the universe, Anthony Mackie was responsible for. And because he was gone for 5 years, he has no credit. And so he's trying to support his sister, who was not snapped, who had to raise his niece and nephew. And if you can well imagine the privilege of a white bank loan evaluator sitting down talking with this person, you should take the time to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It is truly an excellent series. Once again, Marvel knocking it out of the park and dealing with a lot of issues that are very present and obvious even in the world today. Go ahead, Joy.
They do a really good job of making it relevant for everybody and everything, and highlighting the reality. You know, you like you said, he got snapped back, and you know, you go to the bank and they're like, "Oh my God, it's the Falcon." But I mean, you ain't got no credit though, because you don't technically have a job. And I mean, how are you getting paid? And so all of a sudden, you know, it's things that I bet you they wouldn't ask Captain America where he been living this whole time, you know. And then I I'll echo everything he said. I will say that I watched WandaVision and watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I can already see, first off, a whole lot more action. It feels like a mini Marvel movie every week is what it's going to be. I'm here for it. Secondly, I think that the banter and the tension, the buddy cop type thing they're going to have going between the two is going to be great. I will say, I have to lament the loss of Sebastian Stan's shoulder length hair, because I really used to like I really used to like Bucky with the good hair, and I'm sad that that's gone because I really wanted to put my fingers through it. But you know, it is what it is. I can get with the little crew cut, but watch the show. I think it's going to be good. I'm here for it. Wait, I got on my
she does
Black Panther sweatshirt. Shout out to blurredish.com. That's where I got this sweatshirt from. Got one time for T'Challa on there, but that's as close as I could get because there was no Falcon sweatshirt. But anyway, it's a good show. Check it out.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we'll be able to talk. This is not going to be an ongoing segment because that's not what our show is about. But where there are some highly charged political issues, one of the other subtexts of the thing is that there's some right-wing extremist groups doing a whole. Wow, Mark Stephanie is straight up calling her out on the thirst, the Seb's thirst. But that brings us to the portion of our show where we deal with the gangsters. Everybody loves gangsters. Those goofy poofy gangsters. We love them so well. And first up is Joy. Joy, I'm not exactly sure how you were going to reference this outstanding young woman as your gangster this week, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do. So go on ahead and lead us off.
So, you know, my gangster of the week is a young woman who is often underestimated for not only her political savvy, but her business ability to take any sort of publicity and put it towards revenue and money sales. So this week, there was one ratchet little hood rat who decided to come for this queen, and they ended up having a beef across Twitter. I'm talking about Candace Owens. That's the ratchet little hood rat, in case you wonder.
Ratchet.
Candace Owens and Princess Cardi B. So,
Coronavirus.
You tried to tell us back then. If you have not seen the beef, I'm sure if you just Google Cardi B beef with Candace Owens or something like that, you'll get the whole rundown. And
Give you life.
Candace is out here like, oh my God, you put your coochie on stage, and she's like, yes, and you're a disgrace. Oh, bitch, you was jocking me last week. I got receipts. I got old too. So you thought I was a shit. So you can miss me with that and go buy my album. You know, and something else. You know, Candace. Oh, I'm just so put out in whatever. Oh, did you forget these tweets from last month when you try to have three-way with your husband and your man and your brother and they put you out? We ain't forgot that. Oh, that was fake. No, it wasn't. And by the way, go buy my album. Oh, so many people watching this. Why y'all watching this? Check this out. New single is dropping. You should check it out. Download and stream my stuff over and over again. So while Candace is over here being huffy puffy mad, Cardi B is like, excuse me, but don't forget, it's some new music out. I need y'all to go pick it up. And that's a gangster ass move to take all of Candace's energy and put it in your pocket. I love it.
She said, this is how real Epic Shade works. She said, I'm going to thank Candy because she put my performance on Fox, giving it more views that boosted my views on YouTube and is counting towards streams and sales. So thanks, sis. Cardi, the B stands for beef. Cardi beef. And Candace, you are losing. And this little talk show, you and Gina Carano with your little daily caller shows and movies and all this stuff, go on ahead. You're going to be canceled quicker than Chevy Chase's nightly show. Because ain't nobody checking for you like that, Candace Owens. You best believe the 6MFO phase are not checking for you. You're supposed to be a nightly talk show and you're supposed to be funny. Candace.
Right. Matter of fact, let's not even give her any more time on this show. So
yeah, exactly. Bloop. Yeah. So I'm going to take it next with my gangster, and my gangster is from another aspect and dimension, And as a matter of fact, I hadn't even uploaded his picture, but I have it ready now. So my gangster is a person who decided he was not with the shits on Mitch McConnell's half desiccated Prince Philip White Walker looking ass on the filibuster. And Dick Durbin said, if you want to bust my filler, you got to stand up at that podium and talk. We're not going to get rid of it because getting rid of it would be tough. But when Joe Manchin said, I think it's time for people to have to actually put in that wake, Dick Durbin came right back and said, yeah, and Mitch, go on ahead and do your worst, but do it while you're standing for 24 hours trying to do the filibuster. You ain't just going to get to say, we're going to filibuster and everybody just goes away. Stand up. Mm-hmm. Stand up with your flesh-eating virus ass, right, with your purple hands and your turtle mouth. Go on ahead and stand up and read Green Eggs and Ham for 12 hours, McCarthy. See, not even McCarthy, Ted Cruz. See if you can do it. I want to see it. You can't record it from your plane flight to Cancun. You got to stand and deliver. And as soon as one of y'all takes a potty break, we're going to push for cloture. And that is why Dick Durbin, he even got the glasses in place. Dick Durbin, Dirty Dick Durbin is my gangster. No, that didn't sound right. It sure didn't.
No.
Dick Durbin, Senator, Chairman Dick Durbin is my gangster of the week.
Here you go. Big dick energy is what that was.
That blam. There we go. I'll take big dick energy.
Big dick Durbin energy. All right, Chuck, who you got?
I got just real quickly, shout out the gangsters, the black colleges that won NCAA tournament games. We've had black colleges win NCAA tournament games before. I remember a big one, Southern beat Georgia Tech back in '93. Coppin State's won a few.
Norfolk State.
You gave Kentucky a run about 15, 16 years ago. Had number 1 seed Kentucky on the ropes one time. But this is the first time that 2 NCAA HBCU teams actually advanced in the tournament at the same time. So shout out to Texas Southern, who defeated Mount St. Mary's in the first round play-in game. And then shout out to Norfolk State. Tom and I have a frat brother, Clarence Thomas.
That's right.
Who is always repping Norfolk State with the Behold.
The green and gold.
Green and gold. We see it all the time. So shout out. It was an interesting game. Appalachian State, the assistant coach is one of my best friends' little brother, Frank Young. I wrote about it the other week. He was a star basketball player in Tallahassee and at West Virginia. And so, of course, I was pulling for Frank because that's family. But when they lost, hey, it's HBCU love all the way. So congrats to the Spartans. Congrats to the Texas Southern Tigers. And look forward to seeing what they do in the next go-round. Hello.
All right. Oh, sorry. I was trying to work some magic at the last minute off screen. But Sharon, you have a gangster.
Yes, I'm gonna keep it for the culture too. Following up with Chuck, I am giving my gangster of the week to the Norman High School girls basketball team, who, despite the 6F Imus wannabe, they came back and won the Oklahoma 6A state championship. The Tigers, they are the Norman High School Tigers, went 19-0, capped their perfect season off with a 48-37 win over Bixby last Saturday. So I am so proud of the young ladies and the WNBA for giving them a bunch of love. I decided the announcer got enough attention that these young ladies deserved to be lifted up by the WNBA Players Association, as well as wear the crown. They are the queens of their 6A state basketball federation.
Were you able to read that letter, Sharon? Or do you want me to read what the WNBPA had to say?
Feel free, darling.
So the WNBPA, the Players Association, released a letter, and they say, to our young sisters, the future stars of our sport and rising leaders of this country, we cannot let another day go by without you hearing from us. You demonstrated great courage and conviction in your decision to take a knee for justice. You clearly love this country and desire that it loves you back. We are with you. You have our support. We believe you know this already, but it bears repeating. You will not be defined by anyone's ignorance or hate. You will rise above with us by your side. Together, we will use this moment and many others as a teaching moment for those who are honest and interested in real engagement and action. And one more thing, to the young women of Norman High School girls basketball program, congratulations. What a season. It is no coincidence that you are undefeated champions from the players of the WNBA. Them sisters was speaking truth to power for them young girls, and I appreciate it. Congrats to those young women who did everything that they could to shame the devil and diabetes. And he was taking too much Sensulin that night, and that's what caused him to go right down to the path of the devil. But these young ladies have shown and proven, and with the support of their big sisters in the WNBA, you can best be sure that it's going to be some rising stars, just as those ladies said, to carry on this sport into the future and beyond. With that, I will say we're going to go clockwise this time.
Rapid fire.
So we don't have any things. So rapid fire. I am Tom Cunningham.
I'm Chuck Hobbs.
I'm Sharon Letman Hicks. I thought we were about to do y'all. I'm sorry.
And I'm not done. I was about to come bring it back. Like I am not.
Oh,
done.
I'm sorry. I skipped that. I apologize. I apologize.
Like,
go on ahead.
Like, Joy, you about to hit it?
Yeah, no, go on ahead, because we can't let a Delta slip by. So go on ahead.
Happy birthday to my line sisters. We 33 today, and Joy gonna take it out.
True that.
Right.
True that.
So since we clearly needed to get you together, Tom, I wanted to show a really quick, y'all. Just first of all, I love my former national president, and she gets people together the way any good educator, legislator, diva will.
Thank you very much, Jen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh, thank you. I was wondering if I was in this room by myself.
Black girl power, honey.
She said.
And here's the thing: if you listen closely, you can hear that she was like, "Good afternoon," and then she was like, "Good afternoon." You can tell by the intonation, it was a Black woman in the audience, like, "Good afternoon." Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, big sister. I didn't have to respect you like that.
She did that. She did do that.
That's how, but you know what? I talk about personal branding all the time. She walked in that room and said, "You will respect me in this way."
She sure did.
Make no mistake. I don't know who y'all think y'all playing with, but get it right. And I love it. I was here for it all day.
Yeah,
but more importantly, she's like, "Where's your home training?"
Right. I said hello.
Right.
You don't speak when somebody come in the room?
Mm-hmm.
You don't speak when spoken to?
Right.
There's a couple other things I got in here that I want to show. So
absolutely.
I'm going to ask y'all to back out on this because it's a little skinny thing and we'll look weird around it. But, everybody has a doppelganger, and this young man was able to find everybody that was a doppelganger for Jay-Z.
Normal people that look like Jay-Z. Must be nice looking like the billionaire that bagged Beyonce. Up first, we got Prohibition Jay-Z. Instead of selling crack, my guy was slinging moonshine to all the speakeasies in Canarsie. Can't knock the hustle. Next up, we got Hovey Baby. Hovey Baby looking like Baby Chance the Rapper is getting a little too close to Baby Beyonce in the sandbox. And he's not feeling that shit at all. Next up, we got Girls Night Jay-Z. On some out with the ladies feeling cute, might drop Blueprint 4 later. You better go off, queen. Up next, we got Troy Z. Someone told me Troy Aikman looks like Jay-Z, and I cannot unsee that shit. Next up, we got Bay Z, who honestly can get it. And finally, we got Grandma Hove. Grandma Hove looking like her grandson just asked her for McDonald's, and she over here wondering if he got McDonald's money. Grandma Hove plays no games.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of people, whoever has that ancestral gene, that the common ancestor that they all have in common, because clearly they do. That's
I
some
mean,
strong genes right there.
I don't see how you can deny that.
I
But
want
that
the
baby
molecule
Hove, that
behind
Yeah,
it.
no,
DNA.
baby Hove plays no games. Baby
that's
Hove
a
was
DNA
like,
test. That's a DNA test right there.
Right,
real.
right,
"It's
right,
your boy."
right,
I
right.
love prohibition, Jay-Z. Like, yo, that might be their common ancestor.
That's your great
Yeah, that's
granddaddy.
your granddaddy right there. Yeah, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
So
I wasn't prepared for that.
no, it was a lot. It was a
Yeah,
lot. And
that
when
was
Joy
good.
sent that to me, I cackled. I cackled when he said that Bay Z might or Girls Night Hove who would drop the blueprint for
Right, right.
get your shit, queen. It was too much. We're gonna go from a dude who is celebrating the awesomeness of Jay-Z to a dude who I hate so much. I'm glad he got caught out there with some peanuts.
Uh-oh.
So, in case you couldn't exactly see, Sean Hannity was 100% puffing the hell out of a vape pen.
Yeah.
But see, you're supposed to run that in loop 3 times.
Now take a look. It's tipped out of his mouth like he's the Monopoly man. And his glasses, you see his glasses all askance?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we be rumbling right before we come on.
Right.
He's just like,
where's Chuck?
Right.
Where's Chuck? This is Tom. Where's Chuck?
Right. Okay.
There go the peanuts again.
Yeah.
The peanuts. Peanuts.
Hot mess.
And the last thing,
I think we need to go out with my brother who should be on our show with us.
Who you talking about? Mr. Franklin? Is that our brother?
I'm just saying he want us. That's all.
That is true. That is true. But before we roll out with Brother Franklin, because I don't think Joy pulled that down, I'm going to vamp a little bit and give shout outs, just like Sharon is celebrating 33 years in her sorority and Tempestuous 38 go off. I'm going to give a shout out to my Lime brothers, descendants of the Diamond Legacy. On March 15th, it was 32 years for us. So we are just behind Tempestuous by a year. But those 17
Spring
men...
1988, I don't think you did us justice. So you need to clean it up.
Okay, well, you can give yourself justice since you already have.
Our anniversary is today. And
That's
thank you,
right.
Harry.
And spring 1989, Descendants of the Diamond Legacy, Alpha Z chapter, Rock of the South, Sir, celebrated 32 years on March 15th. I was a 15-ism myself, so it's extra special for me. And we are going to grab this little bit because Sharon wants to go out on Father of the Year.
Usually Joy is the ratchet one going out. I just had to.
I got something
had to
even more
contribute.
ratchet. I got
something more ratchet?
Your shit, we be having to recover. Just call with Uncle Kurt.
You just wait. I got something for you. I'm not going to disappoint.
Okay.
I'm gonna let him do the setup first, and then we're gonna go out with a song.
Oh, that's right, because you have that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. So everybody by now has seen or heard of this infamous tape where some grown-ass man decided he wanted to be foolish with his daddy. And so we are setting this up. We're going to play this, and then we are going to go out on Joy, because Joy has really put it all together for us in a way that cannot be imitated. So,
okay, if you think I'm bringing this paper, let me say it like this. When your bitch ass starts getting disrespected, you need to get your skinny motherfucking ass back out the goddamn way before I put my foot in your ass, because I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. Shut the fuck up. I'm old.
What's up? I did it. He just hung up the phone. I break.
The hang up is what got me.
So
it was the hang up for me.
Right.
It was the hang up for me.
And so he went on to give. So there's, of course, Black Twitter blew up because some of us, were triggered by things that happened in our own families. Some people were like, that's what he gets. Some people were like, how can you do that to your child? Some people were like, that's how a 33-year-old grown ass man. This is a fight between men. So however you fell on that, then Kirk Franklin came back and put out a response to it all. But we're going to skip that in the interest of time and go to the fun stuff because I'm stupid. And so is Anthony Anderson. And so I hope that you all enjoy this nice remix we have for you.
Yes, sir.
Swing the way I put my foot in your head. Don't be scared. Before I put my foot in your head. Don't you ever disrespect me. Put my foot in your head.
For those of you that think that gospel music has gone too far,
I will find your neck, nigga. I will find your neck. I dare you. I dare you. I will find your neck, nigga. I will find your neck.
But why is Plies right in perfect sync?
My God.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy.
Joy, I need you to text that to me. I'm heading to the bar and we're gonna be playing that in loop. So I need
you
I'm in an undisclosed location on Spring Break and I'm headed to the bar.
So with that, we are going to celebrate Sharon. She's going to go kick it with her line sisters, and we are going to kick it to wherever it is that we fixing to kick it to. And I will say, I am Tom Cunningham.
I am Chuck Hobbs.
I am Sharon Letman Hicks.
And I am Joy Stevens.
And we are Steel Sharpens Steel. Good night, y'all.